Story breaking out today. U.S. State Department has stopped funding the UN relief workers after this breaking news that staff workers were involved in the Hamas October 7th terrorist attack on Israel. And we're going to also kick around why Iran's running circles around the Biden administration. Let's bring in Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, and author of The March to the Majority, the real story of the Republican Revolution. Mr. Speaker, dear Newt, welcome back. I don't know, many of us suspected all along that this UN relief agency was pro-Hamas. Now it turns out there's some proof. Even the UN is having a hearing on that. And even Blinken, who was citing how great this UN relief agency was, they've now suspended payments. What do you make of this story?
Well, this is the tip of an iceberg. If you look not just to the south at Gaza and Hamas, but if you look north to Lebanon and Hezbollah, there's a long history of the United Nations siding with the terrorists, helping the terrorists, ignoring terrorist violations. The agreements, for example, from 2007 in Lebanon have never been enforced. The United Nations, in many ways, is a shield and a protector. United Nations money went into building a lot of the tunnels that we're now seeing the Israelis destroy. I think there's a good case to be made, and I was co-chair over a decade ago of a commission to review the United Nations for the U.S. government. I think there's a very good case to be made that all of our money for United Nations organizations ought to be put in escrow. A lot of it should probably be canceled permanently, and we should have very tough standards for accountability, for honesty, for rooting out corruption, rooting out nepotism, and being serious about getting a United Nations that's reliable and trustworthy. You also have examples of United Nations peacekeeping forces who have raped women and have themselves been predatory. And I think we really ought to be honest about how much the United Nations is out of control and how much it tends to undermine American and other Western values.
I mean, every time the Bidens talk about the need for, quote, more humanitarian aid, quote unquote, into Gaza Strip, for example, you're talking about supposedly the distribution by these UN relief workers who are in cahoots with Hamas. And everybody except the Biden White House knows that. And so they do this all the time. They'll probably do it again.
You know, now that we know that there are hundreds of miles, literally hundreds of miles of tunnels, that was all money that was supposed to go to the people of Gaza. And how did it end up getting stolen by Hamas? And why did nobody notice it? I think if you were to look at the total value of what Hamas has stolen from the people of Gaza, it is a staggering number, and one that, frankly, we should really be seriously looking at to condemn the failure of the United Nations to be an honest institution of integrity.
Here's another one to your column that I saw in the New York Sun and elsewhere. The United States intelligence gave Iran a warning before the ISIS group, ISIS-K, blew up the Soleimani remembrance in Iran. And it, it was a tragic thing, killed 80 people, lots more were injured. But the U.S. gave Iran a warning on this. Iran is our enemy. Now, we're supposed to share intelligence with our friends and our allies, but not with our enemies. And I don't know why we would give Iran a warning. Turns out they didn't really heed the warning anyway, Newt. But just the principle of the thing. Front page story, Wall Street Journal today.
Look, both Obama and Biden have had sort of a spouse abuse relationship with Iran. Iran beats them up. They forgive Iran. Then Iran beats them up some more. They forgive Iran again. And it literally is like a story of spouse abuse. I don't know why psychologically John Kerry, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Blinken, all these folks have this desperate need to somehow be nice to the Iranians. Meanwhile, the Iranians are funding, training, equipping people who are shooting at Americans. And I think that it is an appalling disaster, comparable to Afghanistan, comparable to our southern border, and very, very dangerous in terms of the Middle East potentially blowing up.
And so the other point you make is, which I think is really important, and a lot of people in the military are backing you up on this, we can bomb the Houthis all we want, but it's Iran who will resupply them, probably the next day, if not the day of. Why don't we go after Iran? Now, everybody, including myself and you and lots of people have said that almost from day one. Iran is the puppet master. Iran is the paymaster. What's the point about wasting money in Houthis when Iran is the one that's controlling this story? And I don't see any reason. And, you know, can I just come back? Giving Iran a warning about ISIS-K, it just seems like deep in the brain cells of the Biden foreign policy group, they still believe they're going to make peace with Iran, a nuclear deal with Iran, bring Iran into the, you know, integrate them into the high table of nations in the Mideast. I mean, I still think after all that's gone on here, they still believe that nonsense.
Well, remember that this came from Obama. Obama had this fantasy that we could somehow create a system in the Middle East where Iran would be a stable, reliable partner, almost a reversion to the world of the Shah and the world of the 1960s and 70s. It's not only a fantasy, it is extraordinarily dangerous. You know, Captain Bill Luty, who also became a national security advisor to President Bush, made the point that when the Iranians attacked an American ship, Ronald Reagan's answer was a one-day all-out assault, which sank half the Iranian Navy.
Right.
Now, if we said to the Iranians, every time one of your puppets shoots at an American, we're going to take away an Iranian system. It sees a tanker, hit one of their refineries, take out their airfields, sink their ships. It would take a week or two, and the Iranians would say to all of their puppets, leave the Americans alone. It's too expensive. But they're happy if we spend $1 million missile to shoot down a $100,000 or $10,000 weapon being fired at us. The exchange rate on these things are crazy.
Yeah.
And we can't afford to keep doing it. And it has no effect. You can bomb. The Houthis have been bombed over 23,000 times by the Saudis and the UAE over the last decade. 23,000 times. Why do we think us bombing the Houthis is going to be dramatically more effective than the 23,000 times they've already been bombed?
Yes, sir. That's all I can say. Yes, sir. Newt Gingrich, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you.